Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely. The fiercest battles you'll ever face, the wars that will shape your destiny, they are not fought out there. No, they are fought in here. Your mind. Your own mind. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not the person standing in your way. It's not the circumstances that try to break you. It's the storm inside your head, an uncontrolled mind that whispers doubt, breeds fear, and chains you down. You see, mastery of your mind is the gateway to freedom, power, and success. Lose control of it, and you lose everything. But when you take charge, when you silence the noise, you become unstoppable. Let me show you 5 truths, 5 keys about taming this wildest enemy, your own uncontrolled mind. Every single one of us carries a battlefield inside our heads. It's not a place you can see, but it's as real as the ground beneath your feet. Your mind is that battlefield, a place where thoughts line up like soldiers, waiting to fight for your future. Some of those soldiers wear armor made of hope, faith, and courage. They are the ones who push you forward, who whisper strength when the world tries to tear you down. But there are others too. Soldiers cloaked in doubt, fear, and negativity. Those are the ones that want nothing more than to pull you into the mud, to bury your dreams, to convince you that you're not enough. Here's the thing. If you don't train those soldiers, if you don't discipline your mind, those negative soldiers will outnumber you, overpower you, and take control. They'll come at you from every direction, telling you you can't, you won't, you're not worthy. And the worst part? You might not even realize it's happening because the battle is silent, internal. The war is in the thoughts you entertain and the stories you tell yourself every day. Think about someone you know who seemed untouchable. Someone who carried a confidence so thick it could stop traffic. Someone who rose to the top of their game, not because they had all the natural talent, but because their mind was a fortress. I want you to think about that, because it's not luck, it's mental toughness. It's the discipline to control the narrative inside their own heads. Take the example of one of the greatest basketball players in history. The man didn't just win championships because he was talented. No, his story is a testament to mental warfare. He once said something that flips the script on what we think about success. He said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." You hear that? Failure didn't define him. Failure was just noise, something his mind refused to listen to. He trained those soldiers of hope and perseverance to drown out the voices of defeat and doubt. This isn't about being perfect. It's about controlling the dialogue that plays on repeat in your mind. Because if you let every negative thought run wild, if you let every fear take root, you're setting yourself up to lose before you even start. But if you discipline your mind, if you make a conscious effort to recognize when those negative soldiers march in, you stand a chance. Recognizing the enemy thoughts, that's the first step. You don't fight a battle blindfolded. You have to know who's coming at you. When you feel the creeping voice inside saying, "You're not good enough. You're gonna fail. Why even try?" That's your enemy, and it's your job to call it out. When you do that, you begin to disarm those thoughts, to pull back their power. You take away the ammunition they use to tear you down. It's hard, I know. It's easier to believe those lies because they come cheap and fast. But the truth? Your mind has unlimited power when you take control. You have the ability to flip the script in an instant. When you train your mind, when you discipline those soldiers, you take back the battlefield. You become the general of your own destiny. This mental battle is ongoing. It doesn't stop when you have one win or one breakthrough. It's a lifelong fight. But every time you choose to stand tall, every time you tell yourself, I will not be defeated. You gain ground. You build resilience. You build strength. And when you master this battlefield, the impossible starts to look possible. Doors that once seemed locked swing wide open. Dreams that once felt out of reach become steps in your daily climb. Because it's not your circumstances or your setbacks that define you. It's your mind. You've got to treat your mind like a warrior. You've got to train it. Feed it with hope. Discipline it with focus, and protect it from the poison of negativity. Only then will you stand tall in the face of any storm. So when that voice in your head tries to tell you you're less than what you can be, remember this: your mind is your greatest weapon. Keep it disciplined, keep it sharp, keep it ready, because that is how you win your battles and how you win your life. All right, let's take a deep breath, because what I'm about to say, what we're all about to feel, isn't just words from a podium. This is about truth. The kind of truth that can burn through lies. The kind of truth that sets people free, not just out there in the world, but right here in the prison of your own mind. Because the most dangerous battlefield you'll ever step into isn't out there. It's the one between your ears. And when you leave your thoughts unchecked, when you let them run wild like a storm with no walls to hold it in, they breed something deadly: fear. And let me tell you something that could change the course of your life. Fear is a liar. When your mind is left to its own devices, when you don't step in and say, hey, I'm in charge here, it becomes a novelist of fiction, a master storyteller of things that never happened. It starts spinning tales about why you're not ready, why you're not worthy, why you shouldn't take the leap. It whispers about every time you failed, every time you looked foolish, every time someone said no. And slowly, if you're not careful, you start believing it. You start believing that maybe you really aren't enough, that maybe your dreams are too big, too wild, too much, that maybe you should play it safe. That's the trap. And let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not pretend fear always shouts. It doesn't. Sometimes it's a whisper in the back of your head, just soft enough to pass for your own voice, just familiar enough to feel like truth. But don't you ever confuse fear for fact. Fear is the enemy wearing your face. It's the shadow in your own soul telling you, sit down, but you've got to stand anyway. You think you're the only one who's heard that voice? Think again. Think about the woman who sat in cafes with nothing but a pen, a pile of rejection letters, and a dream so wild that even she had to fight herself to believe it was real. 12 publishers told her no. 12 doors slammed in her face. That's not just failure, that's a marathon of rejection. But she didn't fold. She didn't crumble under the weight of fear, because fear told her she wasn't good enough. Fear told her no one wants this story, no one wants your words. But her spirit said, write anyway. She didn't silence fear by arguing with it. She silenced it by moving forward. She took control of her mind and told it, you don't get to steer this ship anymore. And because she did, millions of children, and grown folks too, got to grow up in a world full of magic, of courage, of hope. That's what happens when you stop letting fear write your story. You see, fear wants to keep you safe, but safety isn't the goal. Growth is, purpose is, legacy is, and none of that lives in the comfort zone. Fear will wrap you in a blanket and tell you it's protection, but it's really a cage. It'll convince you that you're being smart by not taking the risk, but what it's really doing is robbing you of your destiny. I've seen too many people, brilliant, gifted, world-shifting people, paralyzed by fear, not because they didn't have the talent, not because they didn't have the opportunity, but because somewhere along the way, they let fear take the wheel. And when fear drives, It only has one destination: regret. And listen, this isn't about pretending fear doesn't exist. This isn't about standing up here and telling you to be fearless. No, that's not real. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. To stand in the fire and say, I'm scared, but I'm moving anyway. Because fear is a liar, but it's a loud one. And unless you learn to raise your voice louder, you'll believe everything it says. Fear will tell you that failure is the end, but failure is just feedback. It's the universe asking, how bad do you want it? Fear will tell you that you're alone, but you are never alone. Every soul who ever dared greatly stood exactly where you are, shaking, doubting, uncertain, but they moved anyway. And that movement is what separates the dreamers from the doers. You want to change your life? Start by changing your mind, because until you do, nothing else changes. The job doesn't change. The relationship doesn't change. The bank account doesn't change. But when you take back control of your mind, when you stop letting it write horror stories about your future, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to see clearly. You begin to hear your own voice again, the one beneath the noise, beneath the doubt, beneath the fear. And I know some of you are sitting here thinking, that sounds good, but you don't know what I've been through. And you're right, I don't. I don't know the weight you've been carrying. I don't know the pain you hide behind your smile. But I know this: your past is not a prophecy. Your history doesn't get to decide your destiny. You do. And fear has no say unless you give it permission. The next time that voice shows up, and it will, don't try to argue with it. Just act. Just take the step. Just make the call. Just write the page. Just say the words. Let action drown out the noise. Let discipline be your answer. Because once you move, fear loses power, the lie starts to unravel, and truth starts to rise. Because the truth is, you are more powerful than you know. The truth is, your dreams are valid. The truth is, every rejection, every failure, every closed door was a setup for your comeback. The truth is, you're still here for a reason. That reason didn't disappear just because fear knocked on your door. Fear knocked, but you don't have to answer. Fear screamed, but you don't have to listen. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fear. You are the one who gets to decide what matters. You are the one with the pen in your hand. And this life, your life, is a story still being written. So stop letting fear write your chapters. Take the pen back and write something worth reading. Let's slow down for a second. Not to rest, not to sit back, but to tune in. Because what I'm about to talk about isn't about talent. It's not about luck. It's not even about how much you want it. It's about something deeper, something quieter, something that doesn't always get the spotlight but shapes every second of your life. I'm talking about your mind, that quiet space behind your eyes, behind the noise of the world, behind the doubt and the fear. Your mind is the birthplace of your habits, and your habits, they're the blueprint of your destiny. You want to know where your life is going? Take a hard look at what you do every single day. Not what you say you'll do, not what you plan to do, but what you actually do when no one's watching, when you're tired, when you don't feel like it. That's the real you. That's your future staring you in the face. Because your habits are either building you or breaking you. See, your mind is like the general of an army. It gives the commands, but when that general is out of control, when it's tired, distracted, undisciplined, it starts giving reckless orders. It lets in the wrong voices. It welcomes procrastination, distraction, laziness. It opens the door to excuses dressed up as logic. I'll do it tomorrow, I'm too tired. It doesn't matter, just this once. And just like that, you start to slip. One excuse becomes two. One skipped workout becomes a week. One wasted hour becomes a lifestyle. And before you know it, you've built a life on habits that don't serve you. You didn't mean to. You didn't plan to. But it happened all the same. Because the mind, when left unchecked, does not build greatness. It builds comfort. And comfort never made a champion. But now, I want you to flip the script. I want you to see what happens when the mind is no longer the enemy, but the ally. When it stops running wild and starts standing guard. That's when things change. That's when small habits start turning into unbreakable routines. That's when a life once stuck in circles starts moving forward with purpose. Look at someone like Simone Biles. What you saw on the mat wasn't magic, it was mastery. But that mastery didn't come from the performance. It came from the process. Waking up before the sun. Training when the body begged for rest. Choosing focus when the world handed her distractions. That wasn't just physical. That was mental. Every time she showed up, even when she didn't feel like it, she was proving to herself that her mind was in charge. Not her feelings, not her circumstances, not her pain. Her mind said, "We keep going." And so she did. That's the difference between the people who dream and the people who do. The dreamers wait for motivation. The doers build discipline. They don't hope the habit will come, they train it. They take control of their mind, and that mind, once strengthened, becomes a weapon. It doesn't just help you show up, it pushes you past the line, past the excuses, past the limits. See, discipline isn't glamorous. No one claps for you when you choose broccoli over cake. No one celebrates when you get up at 5 a.m. to put in the work. There's no cheering section for self-control. But let me tell you something. Every one of those quiet victories is building something loud. Every habit of excellence is a brick in the foundation of a powerful life. And when that structure is complete, when destiny finally shows up, it won't be a surprise. It'll be the result of everything you did in the dark. You can't fake greatness. You can't wish your way to the top. You have to train your way there, day by day, choice by choice. It starts with the mind, not with ambition, not with talent, but with a simple decision. I will control my mind, and my mind will control my actions. And I know it sounds simple, but simple ain't easy. Because life is going to test you. It's going to throw pain, loss, distractions, and temptation in your path. You're going to have days when your mind wants to fold. But that's when you show it who's boss. That's when you remind it that the goal isn't comfort, it's growth. And growth only comes through pressure. So many people want the reward without the routine. They want the results without the repetition. But destiny doesn't work like that. It doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to work. And your habits? They are the work. They are the bridge between the life you want and the life you're living. You want to be more, then you have to do more. Not once, not when it's convenient, but consistently. That's where the power is. It's not in the big moments, it's in the daily ones, the boring ones, the silent ones, the ones where no one is watching but you. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't come from motivation, it comes from mastery. Mastery of your thoughts, mastery of your emotions, mastery of your choices. And the truth is, if you don't master your mind will master you. And it will lead you right back to the same old habits, the same cycles, the same frustration, over and over again. But you're not stuck. You're not powerless. You don't have to live a life on repeat. You can change the direction right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, Start with one habit, one choice, one moment of control, and then another, and then another. You build from there, you become from there. So when you look at your future, when you talk about your dreams, when you tell people what you want out of life, don't just speak it, train it, build it, live it. Let your habits speak louder than your hopes. Let your discipline carry you when motivation fades. Let your mind be the architect of your destiny, not a prison of your past. Every step forward is a vote for the person you want to become. Cast enough votes, and you won't just change your habits, you'll change your life. And that life, built brick by brick with purpose, intention, and consistency, that's how you make a legacy. That's how you win. Let me tell you something real, something most folks don't want to hear because it means they have to do the work. Your mind, this powerful, noisy, unpredictable thing inside your head, it's not broken. It's not fixed in place. It's not some wild animal you just have to live with. It's a muscle. And like every muscle in your body, it can be trained, it can be strengthened, it can be transformed. But it will not happen by accident. You didn't wake up one day with a restless, unfocused mind. It didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, over time, one distraction at a time, one unchecked thought at a time, one day of letting worry or anger or doubt run wild without stepping in and saying, enough. But the beautiful thing, the part that should light a fire inside of you, is this. Just like it took time to become undisciplined, it takes time to become disciplined. But it can be done. And every one of you has that power. You ever watch an Olympic athlete? You ever watch them move? How precise, how strong, how sure every step is? That's not talent alone. That's not just being born gifted. That's hours upon hours of training. That's sweat, pain, failure, discipline. That's someone waking up every single day and making a decision. Today, I get better. And they don't wait until they feel like it. They don't wait for the perfect conditions. They train anyway. Now ask yourself, what if you treated your mind the same way? What if, instead of waking up and letting your thoughts run wild, you stepped in with discipline? What if you sat in stillness for 5 minutes and trained your focus? What if you looked in the mirror and spoke life into yourself? Affirmations, truth, power. Before the world had a chance to tell you who you're not. Meditation, mindfulness, prayer, affirmations. These aren't buzzwords. These are battle tools, tools to fight back against the chaos of life, tools to keep your mind from dragging you into places you don't belong, into anxiety, into fear, into self-doubt. And the research? It's clear at just a few minutes a day, just a bit of stillness, just a whisper of gratitude, a moment of awareness, it rewires your brain. It centers your spirit. It builds strength, the kind that doesn't show up in your arms or your chest, but in your decisions, your reactions, your peace. Because life will test you. Life will throw stress, pain, disappointment in your face. It will hit you when you least expect it. And the question is, what will your mind do when the storm hits? Will it crumble? Will it run? Will it panic? Or will it stand tall because you've trained it to? When you train your body, you feel it. You feel the soreness. You feel the progress. The same goes for the mind. At first, it's going to fight you. It's going to say, this is pointless. It's going to pull you toward distraction, toward comfort, toward noise. But if you stay with it, if you keep showing up, it starts to shift. It starts to obey. You start to notice the silence. You start to own your thoughts instead of being owned by them. People think strength is about how much weight you can lift, how far you can run, how hard you can hit. But real strength? It's how calm you can stay when everything is falling apart. It's how clearly you can think when your emotions are screaming. It's how much control you have, not over others, but over yourself. Training your mind is the foundation of that strength. It doesn't require a gym membership. It doesn't require hours a day. It just requires intentionality. It requires you to say, I'm not letting my mind wander aimlessly today. I'm not letting anxiety be my compass. I'm not letting the noise of the world be louder than the voice inside me. Start small, a few minutes in the morning, a few breaths at lunch, a few affirmations before bed, but be consistent, show up, because the mind, like any muscle, only grows through resistance. You want peace? Train for it. You want focus? Build it. You want resilience? Earn it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be persistent. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to show up and do the work. Because every time you choose discipline over chaos, every time you choose mindfulness over mindlessness, you are laying a brick in the foundation of a powerful life. And don't think for a second that people who seem calm and focused were born that way. No one escapes the noise. No one gets a free pass from pain. But the ones who rise, the ones who stay grounded in the storm, they trained for that. They practiced for that. And so can you. Your mind is the command center of your life. Every decision, every action, every reaction, it all starts there. So train it, strengthen it, shape it with intention. Because when your mind is strong, nothing, not failure, not rejection, not fear, can break you. And that's when life begins to open up. That's when you step into the version of yourself that was always waiting on the other side of discipline. There's a moment in every life, sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, where you realize something powerful, something that shakes you, wakes you, and if you let it, frees you. It's the moment you understand that you have the power. Not the world, not your circumstances, not your past. You have the power to control your mind. And when you learn to do that, not just once, but every day, you unlock something most people will chase their whole lives and never find: freedom. You see, we live in a world where we're told we're victims of our environment, our upbringing, our pain, our fear. But that's not the full story. Yes, pain is real, trauma is real, injustice is real. But within all of that, there's still a choice. And that choice starts in the mind. Every thought that comes your way, every emotion that rises up, every reaction you're tempted to give, there's a space. And in that space, there's freedom. The freedom to choose, the freedom to respond, not react. The freedom to decide what kind of person you're going to be. There was a man who knew this better than anyone, Viktor Frankl. He survived the kind of horror most of us can't even imagine. A concentration camp, a place where people were stripped of everything: family, dignity, identity. But even there, even in that hell, he discovered something sacred. He realized that even when everything was taken from him, there was one thing no one could touch: his mind, his ability to choose, his attitude, his response, his meaning. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space, that quiet, hidden space, that's where your life changes. Most people never find it because most people never stop long enough to realize it's there. They get hit with a thought: you're not good enough. This always happens to you. You'll never make it. And they just accept it. They react. They spiral. They give that thought power. But what if you didn't? What if instead of reacting, you paused? What if instead of surrendering to that thought, you challenged it? What if you owned the space? That's what control looks like. Not perfection, not silence, Not some magical state where nothing bothers you. No, control is when life throws its punches and you take the hit, but you choose not to hit yourself. You choose not to break. You choose to rise anyway. That's strength. That's power. That's freedom. But freedom doesn't come easy. It's not handed to you. It's earned. And it's earned through practice, through discipline, through waking up each day and deciding, I will not be ruled by fear. I will not be ruled by anger. I will not be ruled by the past. You decide to train your mind like a warrior trains his sword. Sharpen it, strengthen it, prepare it for battle. Because life is a battle, not always in the loud, dramatic ways, but in the quiet ones, in the late night thoughts, in the temptations to give up, in the moment when you're alone and the world feels heavy and you're not sure you're enough. That's when your mind tries to take over. That's when the old voices rise up. And that's when you've got to stand your ground, not with fists, but with choice, with awareness, with strength. You're not a prisoner unless you give the keys away. And too many people have handed over the keys to doubt, to pain, to distraction, to fear, but you don't have to. You can choose to take those keys back. You can choose to sit in that space and say, no, I decide who I am. I decide how I think. I decide what this moment means. Your mind can be your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. It can be your prison or your launch pad. The difference isn't the thoughts you have, it's what you do with them. Do you let them define you, or do you rise above them? Do you let them trap you, or do you use them as fuel? I've seen people with nothing build empires because they refuse to be held hostage by their own minds. And I've seen people with everything lose it all because they never learned how to quiet the noise. Control of your mind is not just self-help, it's survival. It's transformation. It's the gateway to everything you're searching for: peace, power, purpose. So the next time life tries to tell you who you are, stop and listen, not to it, but to you. Listen to that deeper voice, the one buried beneath the fear, the one whispering, you're stronger than this. Because you are. You're stronger than your past, you're stronger than your thoughts, you're stronger than your circumstances, but only if you choose to be, only if you step into that space and own it. That's where the real freedom lives. Not in what happens around you, not in what people say, but in your mind. And when you take control of that, you take control of everything. Take control of everything. I want you to imagine something right now. Close your eyes if you need to. Picture a battlefield, not out there in some distant land, but right here, inside you. A war zone that doesn't make the news, doesn't show up on social media, and doesn't get medals. But it's the most critical war you'll ever fight. And your opponent? It's not your boss, it's not your critics, it's not even the person who walked away when you needed them most. No. Your real enemy, your fiercest rival, is much closer. It's the voice that speaks when nobody else is around. It's the thought that creeps in when your guard is down. It's the part of your mind that says, you're not enough, you can't, you won't. That voice, the uncontrolled mind, that is your greatest enemy. And yet you carry it with you everywhere you go. You eat with it, sleep with it, walk with it. And if you're not careful, you obey it, you believe it, you make it gospel. That voice, it'll tell you to play it safe, to sit it out, to not even try. Because if you don't try, you can't fail, right? That's a lie. Let me tell you something about fear. It dresses up real pretty. It walks in wearing the mask of logic, of caution, of being smart. But under that mask, it's hollow, it's a ghost. Fear has no substance until you feed it. And every time you let that voice talk you out of your dream, talk you out of speaking up, stepping forward, or standing tall. You're handing it a meal. You're giving it power. You're making it stronger. You know why some people never become who they were born to be? Because they never take the time to know who they are. They never interrogate that inner voice. They never stop to ask, whose voice is this really? Maybe it's the voice of someone who doubted them years ago, a parent who was broken themselves, a teacher who never saw their light, a friend who envied their fire. But instead of letting those voices die in the past, they carried them into the future, and worse, made them their own. You've got to be bold enough to separate your truth from their fear. Listen to me, your mind is not the enemy, but if you leave it on autopilot, if you leave it running wild, it will take everything from you. Peace, purpose, potential. A mind left unchecked is like a wild horse. It'll drag you through thorns and over cliffs if you don't get the reins. But that same horse, trained, disciplined, focused, it'll take you to the mountaintop. This is not about being perfect. This isn't about some magical mindset that never feels doubt or fear or anger. No, this is about awareness. It's about noticing when your thoughts start to spiral. It's about catching yourself when your mind starts replaying the worst instead of envisioning the best. It's about building the habit of asking, is this helping me or hurting me? Most people never stop to ask that question. They let their minds run the same loops day after day, year after year, until it becomes a prison of their own making. But a trained mind, a conscious mind, that's a weapon. That's a gift. That's a fire you can aim. And let me tell you, it's not going to be easy. Rewiring the mind is not a one-day job. It's not some inspirational video you watch one night and wake up transformed. This takes discipline. And discipline is not punishment. It's love. It's the love you show yourself when you say, I want better. I deserve better. I will do better. You've got to get serious about training your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. Wake up early, not just to beat the clock, but to beat the excuses. Meditate, not to feel spiritual, but to learn the difference between a thought and the truth. Move your body, not for vanity, but for clarity. Read, not to impress, but to understand. Journal, not to vent, but to know what you think, what you feel, what you believe. These aren't rituals. These are survival skills in a world trying to drown you in noise. Every day, you're being fed. Algorithms, feeding your mind junk food, doubt, comparison, distraction. It's everywhere. And if you don't take control of what goes in, you can't complain about what comes out. You've got to become the gatekeeper of your own mind. You've got to guard it like a sacred temple. Because here's the truth they don't teach in school. Freedom isn't about money. It's not about fame. It's not about a corner office or 10,000 followers. Real freedom is the ability to choose your response in any situation. To feel the storm, but not become the storm. To fall, but not label yourself a failure. To be hurt, but not build a home in your pain. That kind of freedom only comes when your mind is your servant, not your master. You know, we live in a time where everybody wants to be seen, but very few people want to see themselves. We chase validation like it's oxygen, but the truth is, if you don't validate yourself, if you don't affirm your own worth, you will always be a slave to someone else's opinion. You will always be at the mercy of the likes, the views, the applause. And here's the thing, applause doesn't last. The world will cheer you one moment and forget your name the next. You can't build your identity on the echo of claps. You've got to build it on something eternal, something quiet, something within. And that something is a trained, aware, resilient mind. There will be days when everything feels like it's falling apart. Days when the door gets slammed in your face, when your plan crumbles, when the people you counted on go silent. That's when the work you've done in your mind will show. That's when you'll realize you've been building strength in the dark for this very moment. Because when the storm hits, it's too late to learn how to swim. You've got to be ready. You've got to have done the work. You've got to already know, I can handle this. I was made for this. This setback is not the end. It's a setup, and I will rise again. That's not blind positivity. That's trained resilience. Some of you are waiting for the world to give you permission to rise. You're waiting for someone to tell you you're enough. You're waiting for the fear to disappear before you move forward. But fear doesn't go away. You outgrow it. You train your mind until your purpose is louder than your panic. Stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, what if I succeed? And I wasn't ready because I never trained my mind to carry the weight of my blessing. And that, I would say it's, you want to be great, you want to lead, you want to make an impact, then understand this. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your training. Train daily, train relentlessly. Not just your body, not just your craft, but your inner world. Get to know your own patterns, your triggers, your stories, your lies. Because once you know them, you can rewrite them. You can reframe them. You can reclaim your power. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all together to start. You just need to begin with the mind. And then every day you choose again. You choose to show up. You choose to quiet the noise. You choose to act in faith, not fear. You choose to believe that your past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. The world is not waiting for another perfect person. It's waiting for a fully present one. A person so grounded in truth that their presence reminds others of their own power. Let that be you. Train your mind to be your ally. Tame it with love, not force. Discipline it with vision, not guilt. Teach it that pain is not the enemy, it's a messenger. It comes to teach you, to reveal where you still need healing, to show you what still owns you. And once you listen, once you learn, you grow, you transcend. No storm can break you because you've already made peace with the thunder inside. No setback can define you because you've already seen how far you've come. No voice can defeat you because you've already silenced the loudest one, the one in your head that used to say you couldn't. Now it says you can. So choose every day to do the work, to sit with the discomfort, to fight for your own mind like your life depends on it, because it does. And one day, when the winds come, when the pressure builds, when the world tries to knock you off your path, you'll smile. Not because it's easy, but because you're ready. You've trained for this.